Welcome back to Business Today. The conversation touching on that actually, you see, that's the beauty about life. Sometimes you forget. People are like, these TV people are so programmed, yeah? But we're talking about the tax bill 2023, yeah? Early on, before we took the break, we wanted to go to the nitty-gritties. And I'm glad that, Abraham, you're here, because at International Budget Partnership, I mean, I've been in spaces where you guys sort of break this down in more palatable ways. When you read the finance bill, I mean, 2023 is quite a huge document. Yep. You have to fish out elements that touch on MSME. So what are some of the proposals, tax proposals, that touch on this sector that you're so passionate about?
Thank you, Noah. So indeed, it's I think one of the biggest finance bills that we have seen. And if we look at the numbers that were put out by KPMG in terms of how much the government is anticipating to collect, we have it's about 289 billion shillings that the entire finance bill is seeking to raise. But now the conversation we have today is really around the MSMEs, and we have some tax proposals that will definitely affect or touch on the MSMEs. And perhaps I'll touch on maybe just about 3 or 4 of them. So the first one would be on the turnover tax. So I think that's one main one that will actually net a lot more of the MSMEs. So we are looking at the proposal to increase it from 1% to 3%, which is big, it's huge. But also on the other hand, we are seeing that the amount, so the threshold has been reduced. Initially it was between 1 million to 50 million shillings. But now it's been reduced to 500,000, between 500,000 to 15 million. Mm-hmm. So just to make it more palatable. So if you say, for example, that 500,000 is for the entire year. Yep. Mm-hmm. So if we divide that by 365 days, what do we get? It's about 1,370 shillings. Mm-hmm. So it means that if your turnover per day is about 1,370 shillings, then you have to pay about the 3% turnover tax. Okay. So if we just think about it, how many businesses make about turnover around 1,300? That's your regular kiosk where you'll go outside your house to buy a packet of milk, a packet of bread, and so we are seeing that this will also be part of the businesses that will be affected. Yes. So we are seeing it's widening the base, therefore more people will be paying that. But the the interesting thing is that not for us to look at these taxes in isolation. Mm. So you might think, oh, just 3%. But if you look at the turnover tax, and then we have an additional fuel, the VAT on fuel. Mm. So it's being proposed to be increased from 8% to 16%. So what does that do? If, for example, you look at some of the businesses that happen that are around here, most of the times is you'll purchase something, yes, and you'll get it delivered to you. Mm. And most of the times you'll be told delivery cost is not included. So what does that mean? The delivery guy, who, if you pay, say, 200 shillings for delivery within a certain radius from the central business district, then it means that the farther you are away from there, then it means that the fuel cost will become higher. So the delivery guy will definitely increase their costs for delivery. So we are seeing that in most cases, this will be pushed onto the consumer, who is already being taxed heavily on the other side. Mm-hmm. If you think about the pay as you earn, you're paying all that. So even you as an individual, when you're purchasing this, you'll be like, do I really need to buy this? Or can I just hold on and leave it? What does that do? So it means that the sales will go lower, and these people also have more people who they've employed to work, say, in these businesses. So we're seeing that turnover tax coupled with the fuel, the VAT addition in the VAT for fuel, okay, will actually increase significantly.
And even before you move to the next one, yeah, I mean, we were listening to the lady who is in the second-hand clothes business, and she says business has been going down.
Yeah.
You know, somebody thinks, I mean, I can't spend this much money on just clothes or beddings. I mean, thinking about this issue of faith from an inside perspective, because you look at these businesses, you talk to them and get their perspective of things, and juxtaposing that with majority of businesses also being in the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in this country. With such proposals, what is your foresight of their perception?
I mean, I'll start from history. Like when you look at those, the same SMEs, in the last 2 years, I mean, we've gone through the strategic shock in terms of COVID. We have seen them closing shop because their operating expenses are too high. I like what he mentioned, you know, about fuel. When you look at cost of manufacturing for any good, you're talking about 50%. On top of that, then you have these additional taxes. I don't know how they'll survive, honestly. I mean, it will be challenging, and like even from when we look at total market, we've seen shops which were large dukas shrinking in size to become small dukas, towards kiosks. If you think about where you live in your neighborhood, you have also seen that these businesses have actually really suffered. You find that somebody who used to stock up like 50,000 shillings, it's impossible to stock up that 50,000. They've reduced their stocking status. They've reduced their turnaround in terms of sale. So it will be challenging. I don't think it will be good for them. And we'll see a lot of changes in terms of the market.
I mean, how do you balance that? Because the government wants to sort of widen the tax net. And since majority of businesses fall under the informal sector, the infamous informal sector, then it only makes sense. Is there an alternative approach to this? Maybe before I go to Abraham.
I think, and I love what one of the key stakeholders in this market once said, you have to come up with a proposal with a voice of the consumer or the voice of that SME. You cannot have one approach and one size fits all. It cannot work. Our market is very diverse. You know, you're talking about SMEs, you're talking about multinationals also who have shut down. I mean, in the last 2 years, 10 to 20, you know, multinationals have moved their production centers to countries like Egypt or South Africa because of cost of manufacturing. So you have to listen to these people.
Yes.
You have to do research, and that's why you talk to us.
Definitely. Important. Abraham, so fuel, quite critical. TOT, quite critical. I know majority of young people also, they were roped into the conversation because for a long time we've been averse. Oh, government. Then all of a sudden you hear, oh, your crypto, your tokens are going to be touched a little bit, or your sales online is going to be touched. So you have to pay attention to this. What other spaces have been affected?
So before I even come to that, I think just to pick up on the conversation that was going on, so the issue of fairness in the taxes, and I think for us, we at IBP Kenya, we think about equity as one of the main issues that we pursue whenever we talk about budgets. So the big question that we've been asking ourselves, are these taxes fair for every Kenyan? And we are yet to get to an answer to those questions. But quickly, just back to the conversation on the taxes. So one other big thing is the taxation on beauty products. I think that has...
I saw this fake beard.
Yeah. Mine
beard.
are real, though.
I know. Mine, I'm hoping to get the fake one, but it's too expensive now.
Yeah, it will be more expensive. So as it is, they are actually quite expensive. But if you now add the 5%, then what does that mean? The products will get higher, prices will go higher, people will be like, now I think I have better priorities than to have a fake beard, so let me stay with my...
my smooth chin.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, but even as you just look around, it's a business that has been booming, the beauty business. So you'll find beauty salons across town. and most of them actually stock these things. They stock wigs, they stock the fake beards, nails, and all these things. So if you think about it, they're also now going to be, first of all, you pay your turnover tax. There's electricity that you pay, and in most cases, some areas where you find that the electricity is out, then you have to pay diesel for your generator. Fuel costs are up.
Yes.
So now on top of that, you have to pay another 5% on all these products. So it means that, the burden is just getting higher and higher and higher.
Definitely.
Yeah. So when we think about that, then clearly it tells us that the businesses will be affected. Their bottom line in terms of profits are going to be affected. But even in addition to that, we're thinking about the 3% housing fund, which is important to also link it to this whole conversation, because they say as an employer, so you employ people, right? So they have certain terms in which you're getting them, you've employed them, and therefore it means that as an employer you have to remit that 3% to match what the employee will be contributing. So that is already adding more onto that. So you're finding that even as an employer, this is roughly in the middle of the year. Most of these businesses, perhaps their financial year starts in January. So they've budgeted, this is our operating cost until December. But midway, the effective date of this bill, if it goes through as is 1st July. So what happens, you had projected a certain amount for your operation costs, but come mid-July, you have to now start paying more.
Yes.
So, what will businesses do?
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be be interesting moving forward, and maybe the tweaks that we'll get from that. Our time is out right now, but briefly, in less than 30 seconds, because I know we're brief. We're Kenyans, yeah. Faith, looking at the future and what it upholds, and you speaking to these businesses, is there something that internally they need to sort of do to have a sort of soft landing amidst all these storms?
I think for me, I believe that information is power. I think before we implement anything, we need to talk to these small businesses to also understand what their challenges are. So for example, like when I look at the retail space, the people who own, let's say, kiosks and dukas or small dukas do not have that financial knowledge, to understand when I put in 10,000, what's my return on investment? If the government could actually, and this is just all about learning and training, could actually develop them to understand, even with my small business, as my partner here said, the person who is earning 1,000, they need to know, okay, in this 1,000 I have, where can I put it, either to double it, or how can I save some of it? And just that basic financial element.
Okay.
I think that's where I think would be the game changer, especially for the SMEs.
All right, definitely. Abraham, briefly?
For me, it's just one thing. As we started, you mentioned that the bill is in Parliament and we have up until 20th of May to give our submissions. And so it's just to really call upon Kenyans. Some have read or they have seen some article out there just saying, this is how you will be affected. Talk to your member of Parliament, engage. We have 20th. You have the liberty to share your views with the Budget and Appropriations Committee at the National Assembly. And therefore, we call upon all Kenyans to just engage in the process.
Okay.
And we believe that once the higher the voices, then the likelihood of being heard.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Wow. Beautiful conversation right there. Faith Wanderi, MD East and West Africa for Nelson IQ, and Abraham Ochieng, Programs Officer, International Budget Partnership. Abraham tells me this is his first TV interview. It's been easy, right? It's fun. You should do more of this, man.
Thank you.
All right. With that said, we want now to proceed to Women in Business. Now, the expanse of business opportunities has been spreading to those whose minds are geared towards entrepreneurship.